It's my honor to welcome you all again to this 2025 induction ceremony and the 27th Birmingham Business Hall of Fame. For 108 years, members of the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham have worked to inspire, develop, and support civic growth in Birmingham, and today's event is really a testament to our ongoing commitment to service. Our mission as Kiwanians is to build by serving, and today is a chance to celebrate and recognize 5 individuals who've served our city in significant ways and had a very meaningful impact on it. At this time, it's my pleasure to invite my good friends, fellow Kiwanians, and this year's Birmingham Business Hall of Fame co-chairs, Anil Chatta and Lauren Roberts, to the stage, to the podium, to lead us through the induction of the Birmingham Business Hall of Fame class of 2025.
Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. What a terrific turnout. I think this may be a record, so thank you for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to express our gratitude to our Kiwanians, our committee, and our corporate partners who have made today possible. We'd like to extend a thank you to our key sponsors, Renaissance Bank for sponsoring parking and coffee reception, Regions Bank for your partnership in sponsoring the inductee videos and event photography, Alabama Power Company, Protective Life Corporation, and Vulcan Materials Company for supporting the event as gold sponsors, and the Feather and Gill Foundation and Pinnacle Financial Partners for being our Navy sponsors.
We couldn't have organized this event without the generous support of our other sponsors displayed behind me. The Better Business Bureau of Central Alabama, Bradley, Brassfield and Gorey, Ligon Industries, Medical Properties Trust, Maynard Nixon, Oakworth Capital Bank, Recreational Concepts, Savant, South State Bank, Synovus, and the Welch Group. We deeply appreciate your support.
I gotta turn the page. Today we are here to celebrate. Since 1917, the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham has been dedicated to uniting business, civic, and community leaders to build a stronger city by serving. One of our first projects in the 1930s created Vulcan Park, moving Vulcan to Red Mountain. It is the commitment to our city that brings us together today. By celebrating our past, we continue to look forward to our future. We celebrate civic leadership and the positive impact that it has on all of us. We'd like to take a moment to recognize our past inductees joining us here today. If you would, please stand when I say your name. 2003 inductee Miller Gorey of Brassfield and Gorey. Past Kiwanis President, 2014 inductee Richard E. Anthony of Synovus. Fellow 2014 inductee Susan Matlock of Innovation Depot. Oh, it appears 2014 is showing out. Third 2014 inductee Jim Weitzman, Jr. of Tractor and Equipment Company. '15 inductee General Charles Krulak of Birmingham Southern College. 2018 inductee and a Kiwanian, Michael Calvert of Operation New Birmingham. 2019 inductee John McMahon of Ligon Industries. 2021 inductee Grayson Hall of Regions Bank. And finally, 2023 inductee Dr. Will Fernanny of UAB Health System. Welcome.
All right, so let's officially get the induction of this exceptional class underway. We have the privilege of honoring our first inductee in the 2025 class, the late Horace Corbin Day, chair of the Jemison Investment Company.
messed it up. There was an opening video, I think, that we messed up.
Horace Corbin Day, Jemison Investment Company. Corbin Day already had an impressive name in business when he arrived in Birmingham in the 1980s. And in the Magic City, he left an indelible mark, not just through his leadership at the Jemison Investment Company, but also through his impact on the broader Birmingham community.
Corbin led by example, and he was genuinely interested in those that he encountered, whether it was in his personal life or in his professional life, those who worked for him or with him. And there was something about his personality and his background that really made you want to please him.
A native of New Jersey, Corbin started his career in New York City at Goldman Sachs after graduating from Brown University and earning an MBA from the Wharton School. Day quickly made a name for himself at Goldman, founding and leading the Mergers and Acquisitions Department and becoming partner in 1971. Along with his wife, Dorothy Jemison Day, and his family, he relocated to London, leading the opening of the firm's UK office. Colleagues said Day's business acumen, intelligence, and character were readily apparent during his legendary career at Goldman.
David Solomon, who was CEO of Goldman Sachs not too many years ago, credits Corbin with, creating the culture that became so important to Goldman Sachs.
After retiring from Goldman in 1986, Day relocated to Birmingham. In 1987, he led the transition at the family business, Jemison Investment Company.
Corbin was very close to his father-in-law, John Jemison, who started Jemison Investment Company in 1949. He was very close to his father-in-law and had always planned to retire from Goldman Sachs and join him in his work at Jemison Investment Company. He admired him a great deal, and so when he came to Jemison, his objective was to continue the reputation or continue the business that John had established many years before. But with Corbin's involvement, we managed to grow the business at a pretty rapid rate, and we're very successful in our growth, and at the same time establishing a reputation which became our most valuable asset, I do believe, and that was a reputation for fairness and integrity and trust.
Day had a huge impact on the company, with his background in mergers and acquisitions proving pivotal for its growth.
The more valuable thing was, once again, the way he dealt with people. If there's one thing that gives a company in our business a competitive advantage, it's the reputation and trust that the other side has in the person that wants to be their partner, that wants to buy their business or partner in their business.
And his influence extended across Birmingham's business world, including its entrepreneurial ecosystem.
There were noteworthy events along the way, transactions that were significant that kind of helped fuel the growth and propelled us forward through the years. Our investment in Bassmaster magazine, our investment in a company called Southwest Stainless. There have been several others along the way that kind of marked were milestones and benchmarks in the history of the company. Corbin's success and encouragement really always gave you the confidence to try hard, give it your best shot, but not be afraid of failing.
He was a sought-after corporate board member for companies like Alltech, Blunt International, and others. They also worked closely with a number of nonprofit organizations. His impact was felt particularly in Birmingham's art scene through his support of the Alabama Symphony Orchestra, the Birmingham Museum of Art, and the Alice Stevens Center.
When he moved to Birmingham, it became his adopted city, and with his interest in the arts and the city itself, the inner city, the core of the city, the heart of the city, and education kind of became, his focus and his philanthropy. That's what he saw as the role that his success should play in helping better our community and those around him.
Day passed away in 2021. His legacy in both the business world and the community will be felt for decades to come.
He was at the forefront and clearly led the company by example, as I said earlier. But he stayed in the background and was just there to encourage, advise, and counsel, and let others take credit for everything that happened. He was admired and respected by all, which was a real asset to us because it allowed us to run the business, in our relationship with Corbin, knowing that everyone trusted what we were doing because they trusted Corbin. He was clearly, the leader of the family. But I think probably the greatest legacy will be or can be seen in the effect that he had on individuals. Whether it was those young partners at Goldman Sachs that went on to become Secretary of the Treasury or Governor of a state, or whether it's the young business people here in Birmingham, he enjoyed seeing others succeed as much as he enjoyed succeeding himself.
Please join me in welcoming Mr. H. Corbin Day, Jr. to the stage to accept the award on his father's behalf.
Whoever created that video, thank you. That was incredibly well done, and I think captured his essence perfectly. That was really fun to watch. I always enjoy speaking about my father. I miss him dearly, but he was such an inspiration, not just to myself, but to many. And so on behalf of the Day family, the Lacey family, and the entire team at Jemison Investment Company, I'm honored to accept this award in recognition of my father. This will be somewhat repetitive, having seen the video now. My mother, Dorothy Jemison, was born and raised here in Birmingham, and her path took her north, where at Brown University gathering, she met my father, and that was the beginning of a partnership that shaped not only their lives, but the lives of all of us who came after. After earning his MBA at Wharton, he joined Goldman Sachs at 26, founded the firm's mergers and acquisition group, and by 34 became a partner. His rise reflected not only talent and drive, but also a quiet, steady style of leadership that inspired confidence in everyone around him. After more than three decades at the center of Wall Street, my parents chose to return to Birmingham, not as a step back, but as a new beginning, a chance to spend more time with my mother's siblings and allowing my father to spend more time with John Jemison discussing the future of Jemison Investment Company. For my father, one of the greatest blessings of that move was his relationship with John Jemison. John was not only a father-in-law, but also a mentor and a very close friend. The two shared an optimism about the world and a belief in doing business and living life with kindness, fairness, and integrity. Their bond was a reminder that true leadership is measured not just by success, but by character. The legacy they left continues to be Jemison Investment Company's most valuable asset in its 75th year as a family holding company. On behalf of our family, I thank you for this honor, for recognizing the values my father lived by every day. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Kiwanian John H. Holcomb III, retired CEO of National Bank of Commerce, now South State Bank.
John H. Holcomb III, National Bank of Commerce. It's hard enough to lead one successful turnaround. John Holcomb did it twice. Along the way, he built a talented team that has remained together and shaped the banking sector across the region.
He brought us all together. We all worked for him. We all wanted to work for him. He was a great mentor. He was a great boss. Another mentor who we've all had exposure to once said, good advice is to have good bosses. John Holcomb was the best boss you could have.
Above all is just character that is unquestioned. You know, we knew from the very beginning, you know, it was kind of, we're always going to do the right thing, whatever the situation is. And there are countless examples.
One of the reasons that we were able to build the banks that we were able to build, the first version of National Bank of Commerce as well as the second, was John's credibility in our region within the banking community. I think John is, you know, he was well thought of, he was well known, and he was well known for doing what he said he would do, for always following through.
Holcomb worked at South Trust and First National Bank of Birmingham, a predecessor to Regions. It was experience at large banks that taught him the ins and outs of how to succeed in the banking world.
He is a brilliant guy financially in understanding how banks make money and how you lose money. And so he would avoid those situations that were maybe riskier or a loan portfolio that didn't quite meet our, not that they were necessarily bad, but for what fits and what we like to do.
I think he had some good big bank training. John, I think when I began to work with him in that turnaround situation, you know, it was very clear, John, you know, he understood the business. He understands how you make money in the business and how you lose money in the business. And that was something that he ingrained in all of us that I think was certainly a big part of why he was successful.
Holcomb was named president of National Bank of Commerce in 1989.
He was in his late 30s when he became, you know, the CEO. So I think his management style has changed, certainly in how he related to us because we were so inexperienced. But what I would say, it's always just been, you know, very calming, very level, not prone to, you know, swings, which is, as a young person, it's very easy when you know you've got the consistency in that leadership.
With a supportive ownership group, Holcomb built a team of young bankers that helped spark a turnaround in what colleagues describe as a testament to his leadership. The core of that team has remained with him.
As we grew together, he built a culture that it's okay to really care genuinely about the people you work with.
Holcomb and his team completed the turnaround and made several acquisitions that significantly expanded the size of the bank and ultimately completed a public offering.
The bank was in pretty tough shape, but fortunately we had ownership with enough capital that we could put in it and try to work things out the right way.
Oftentimes in the merger and consolidation of banks, there are promises made that are not promises kept. John was not like that. He ingrained in us, you follow through, you show up, and you show up on time.
Alabama National Bancorp, the bank's holding company, was eventually sold to RBC Centura in 2008 in a $1.6 billion deal. Holcomb's thoughtful approach and calm demeanor provided steady leadership that allowed his banks to thrive during some challenging circumstances.
Anytime a ship is rocking and, people might think it's going to sink, if you got a captain that's calm, that makes you have confidence that things are going to be okay.
A couple of years later, the financial crisis hit, and Holcomb and his team once again sparked a successful turnaround at another Birmingham bank. They took the reins of Red Mountain Bank, which became the new National Bank of Commerce. By 2011, the bank had returned to profitability. By 2015, the bank unveiled plans for a public offering.
We were able to raise capital, bring our entire team, and do really the same thing again, kind of help turn that bank around, bring in the right people, and grow that bank.
Under Holcomb's leadership, the bank made successful acquisitions and continued to grow before being acquired by Center State Bank in 2019. It's now part of South State Bank. Colleagues say Holcomb was not just a great leader, but a great mentor to many in the banking world and beyond. That will be just part of his legacy.
His legacy is one of people holding him in the highest regard just because he you know, he was so successful in every, you know, it's very difficult to do something that spans 30 to 35 years.
We invite Mr. Holcomb up here to accept the award.
Thank you to the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham and to the sponsors of today's events. I certainly enjoyed being a member of Kiwanis for 35 years. I'm following the words last year of my friend and mentor Stan Starnes about the importance of family, faith, and friends in the quality of life. I ask that you indulge me in thoughts about my life and this community. I thank my family, my wife, Diane. Sorry. As we celebrate our 48th wedding anniversary tomorrow, sorry. Whatever your faith, my advice is to have faith in its guidance in your life. I'm reminded every day by the Adams church steeple near my home. I've always admired builders, especially Miller Gorey, but not in the context of construction, but in creating and putting organizations together. That means get involved, work hard, grow and improve the community. The most important people in my life were my mother and father and sisters. My values were shaped by them. The next most important person in my life sorry, taking too long, was John McMahon. John McMahon and Jim McQueen and the McQueen family provided an extraordinary opportunity at NBC to build a long-term organization. Thank you to John for your counsel, your guidance, and probably more important from an investment standpoint, your patience with me. I celebrate the leadership group that you've seen some that spoke in the video from the early 1990s that continue today at South State Bank. This group, Richard Murray, Will Matthews, Ruffner Page, John Bragg, Robert Aylen, Evans Quinn Levin, and for most of that time, Bill Ireland, have been proven exceptional at building organizations. I had Dan David, Steve Fleming, Greg Raines, Mark Tucker, Shelley Williams, Davis Goodson, Patrick Carlton, and LaDon Jones, and my assistant for 30 or almost 30 years, Cindy Payton, as part of that exceptional group. The importance of our community, Birmingham, cannot be overstated. The past history up to 1970 was a difficult time. Things began to change with so many individuals recognized previously by this club and bringing about change. Whether it was the United Way, and Drew Langlow's here, I compliment him greatly. Operation New Birmingham, Mike Calvert, Leadership Birmingham. Through the years, a new city was emerging. Communication was greatly improved, and I thank Dr. Richard Arrington for his leadership. Sorry. In my business and community life, over 50 years, I came along to better times to see the growth and importance of community health care through the Baptist health system. Was very prideful with a significant $50 million addition to the operating rooms at Princeton Hospital in 2012. In the area of health care, of most importance to me is the value of UAB to Birmingham. I am a direct beneficiary of the research and development in neurology and the leadership of Ray Watts and the work of Dr. Marissa Dean, my clinical trial physician. Sorry. Who incidentally is a Safford Fellow via the Michael J. Fox Foundation, a high honor. In closing, I'm truly blessed, and I'm sorry to be emotional, but quite an honor. Thank you.
Our next inductee is a retired CEO of Vulcan Materials, Don James.
Don James, Vulcan Materials Company. The name Vulcan is forever linked with Birmingham in more ways than one. And leading Vulcan Materials Company is a role that demands a certain special kind of leader. Don James was up to that task and then some.
What's most impressive is how Don led us. Even with large jumps in our business, he kept our culture. Vulcan is a large public company, but still feels like a family business that cares.
The main one that always stays with me is do the right thing the right way at the right time. In Don's almost 20 years as the leader of our company, I can tell you, he set that tone.
James joined Vulcan in 1992 after previously working as an attorney at what was then known as Bradley, Arant, Rose & White, where he served on the executive committee.
One of the rare lawyers who did both transactional or mergers and acquisition practice and did it very well, and also was a gifted litigator. I mean, that is very rare. But Don had the mind for it, for sure.
Under his leadership, Vulcan Materials sold its chemicals business and made a number of major acquisitions in the aggregates industry, positioning the company for significant growth.
Under Don's leadership, Vulcan grew to be the leading aggregates producer in the fastest growing markets in the United States. Most notably, the acquisition of Calmat in 1999 gave Vulcan that coast-to-coast presence, and the acquisitions of Tarmac and Florida Rock solidifying Vulcan's positions in the southeast and on the eastern coast. Not only did Don engineer these acquisitions, but he artfully integrated them into the Vulcan Materials fold.
Colleagues said James's background in the legal world served him well while heading one of Birmingham's marquee firms. During his tenure, the company's value grew from $2 billion to $18 billion.
At Bradley, we used to refer to some folks as two-handed lawyers, you know, on the one hand and on the other hand, when they never could make a decision. So that's one thing that can be trained into a lawyer that can make you a very ineffective chief executive officer. But I think Don, or I know Don, was able to see all sides. He was able to, as a litigator, right, he was able to ask probing questions. He was able to interrogate, right? But the great thing about Don was, or is still, that he can get to a decision, get all the facts, get the information, I know what's important. There's the decision. Let's go.
Not only did Don engineer these acquisitions, but he artfully integrated them into the Vulcan Materials fold. Don became CEO in 1997, and Vulcan had 211 facilities, an enterprise value a little north of $1.1 billion. At the end of his tenure in 2014, Vulcan had grown into 411 facilities, an enterprise value north of $10.5 billion.
His leadership style was evident during tough times too, such as the Great Recession.
And I would commend Don for managing through that. I mean, you couldn't have been handed a harder hand. And I think that, you know, again, I was on the outside looking in at that point, but there was a lot of pressure, but a lot of strength. You know, and I think that also shows the strength of the Vulcan family. I think it also shows the strength of our assets, right? That you can come through something that difficult and come out the other side. And look at us now. Don wasn't going to ask us to do anything where he wasn't out there doing it in front.
Colleagues said James's upbringing in Russellville shaped his work ethic and his approach to business.
If you ask me, give me 3 words, give me a few words that capture Don, I would tell you he is a consummate professional and he is a true gentleman.
James was heavily involved in a host of nonprofit and community organizations, including the Birmingham Museum of Art, the Mountain Brook Board of Education, Birmingham Southern College, the United Way of Central Alabama, and others.
Not only was Don a great business leader, but he also worked tirelessly for our communities, with board memberships too numerous to name.
He also served on the boards of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the National Manufacturers Association. James's legacy will be taking one of Birmingham's most prominent companies to new heights. How did he do it? Along the way, he shaped Vulcan Materials' corporate culture and created major milestones that won't be forgotten.
Don's legacy is both the growth legacy and putting us on a path where what we talk about is one Vulcan locally led. Right? It's a very local business if you think about what it is that we sell. It's in local markets. It doesn't travel very far. It can't. It's very heavy, right? And so you have to have good local leadership, but you also have to have strong central leadership, right? To take the excellent things that can apply to the entire business. And he really put us on that path.
Please join me in congratulating Don James.
You know, every time I walk into the Harbert Center and I see the names of those incredible people, men and women, business and professional leaders, I am knocked over by how much those people have meant to this city. There are a couple of names up there that I'll comment on, Lee Bradley and Douglas Arant. When I was just graduated from law school and moved to Birmingham, my wife Anna and I did not have any family here. But the lawyers at Bradley Arant treated us as family. And in addition to teaching me how to practice law, they involved us in the civic and community and cultural organizations throughout the city. And for that, we will forever be grateful. After 16 years at Bradley, I was recruited by Vulcan to join the company as general counsel. Again, the lawyers at Bradley were very understanding and very supportive, I'm sure at least in part because Vulcan was a major client. But my tenure as general counsel at Vulcan Materials was very brief. After 1 year, the CEO called me in and the board called me in and said, "You think you can run a business?" Well, I had grown up in a small town in an entrepreneurial family, and I'd spent most of my youth working on the farm and in the bank and in the department store, so I said, sure. So I was demoted from reporting to the CEO, 2 levels down, to head one of the 8 Vulcan operating divisions, the one that was headquartered here in Birmingham, the Southern Division. With a hell of a lot of luck, excuse my English, but with a lot of luck and the support of a lot of people who knew a lot more about the business than I did, 3 years later, I became chairman and CEO. Again, when I walk past that board downstairs, I see the names of all of my predecessors at Vulcan. There's Charles Ireland, who was a member of the founding family of the business that became Vulcan. And Bill Ireland, I'm honored that you're here today. Charles Ireland became the first public company CEO of Vulcan. He was followed by Barney Monahan, who had also been a partner at Bradley Arant and helped transform Vulcan into a modern public company. He was followed by Houston Blunt. Many of you in this room know Houston. Houston's many contacts with political and business leaders around the country proved to be very, very valuable for Vulcan. And he was followed by Herb Sklenar, who was my mentor and my coach. I am honored that Tom Hill and some of his senior executives are here today. So after 17 years as CEO of Vulcan, I turned the reins over to Tom. They have done an incredible job leading Vulcan. Vulcan is now, by a wide measure, the most valuable public company headquartered in the state of Alabama with a market cap of about $38 or $39 billion. That's measured by the value of Vulcan stock traded now in the New York Stock Exchange. One of the things that has not changed at Vulcan is our very complex business model, and that is Vulcan makes small rocks out of big rocks. But they do it more efficiently and more profitably than any other company in the world. So why have I dragged you through this history lesson? Well, I think it's because we need to remember that all of us have benefited from those who have gone before us and those who have believed in us and those who have supported us, and that we have all relied on others to achieve whatever it is we may have achieved in our careers. I want to thank my wife, who not only has put up with me for 52 years, but has supported me throughout all sorts of trials and tribulations. She has given us 3 incredible children and 7 wonderful grandchildren, one of whom, my grandson, Jacob London, is visiting us here today from Washington, D.C. So Kiwanis Club of Birmingham, I want to thank you for this great honor, and I am humbled to see my name on the board of the Birmingham Business Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Kiwanian John D. Johns, retired CEO of Protective Life Corporation.
John D. Johns, Protective Life Corporation. Few individuals have impacted as many key Birmingham companies and organizations as Johnny Johns. He was a founding partner of Maynard Cooper & Gale Law Firm. He was general counsel for Sonat Incorporated. He has served on the boards of Regions, Southern Company, and a host of critical nonprofit organizations. But he made his biggest mark at Protective Life Corporation, where he served in a number of executive roles before becoming CEO in 2002, chairman in 2003, and executive chairman in 2017.
Johnny is an incredible person. His intellect, his integrity are just absolutely awesome, and it was a pleasure to be able to work and serve with him for so many years at Protective.
Johnny is brilliant, but don't tell him I said so. We'll just say he's extremely smart, and he has a strategic mind, something not all great thinkers have, but he really thinks about what this action today means for down the road. So working with Johnny was always fast-paced, quick, changing. He was constantly learning from the people around him to kind of put that into the strategy and what's the best positioning for the company, what's the best strategy ahead.
Johnny, without question, was one of the most remarkable leaders, probably the best leader that I've ever worked for.
The big quality that stood out for me about Johnny was that he always wanted us to move forward. You know, we went through lots of periods, lots of ups and downs. We made a lot of great decisions to grow the company. We made some decisions that we had some regret on. But what Johnny always was looking for was to try and find a way for a solution to allow us to move forward and continue to grow the company.
At Protective, Johns led the company to significant growth. He was involved in a series of major acquisitions, including West Coast Life, Chase Insurance Group, United Investors Life Insurance Company, and Money Life Insurance Company.
We had started a growth path under Drayton Neighbors in the early 90s, but he took us to a national level.
He provided steady leadership during the Great Recession.
Johnny felt like his leadership in that crisis was to stay the course, tell the truth, be transparent, and so that's what we focused on.
And in 2014 and 15, Johns successfully navigated the company through its biggest change, the acquisition of Protective by Japan-based Dai-ichi Life Insurance Company.
Johnny was very focused during that transaction to make sure Protective continued as Protective, continued to have our brand, our reputation, our place in the U.S. He was also very focused on the employees, that we had a good owner that would allow our employees to continue to thrive as we move forward.
One of Johns' principal accomplishments was the impact of the Protective Life Foundation, which has given more than $80 million to charities since 1994, supporting a variety of high-impact causes in Birmingham and beyond.
When I came in, having grown up there, I knew certainly the reputation of Protective in the community. Mr. Rushton, Mr. Neighbors, it goes without saying, the quality of those two men. But Johnny had a really different vision for the foundation. I think by coming in and also having the business side to Johnny, with the joint MBA law degree from Harvard, kind of saw things from all angles. And he knew, just instinctively he knew how important it was for our employee group, our team members, to see what Protective was doing in the community. He saw the vision and really making it where Protective was, I think, the greatest pride I thought with what the foundation did. It was one of the leading funders and a lot of new initiatives to Birmingham and a lot of new things that came to Birmingham to help the city and the state. And it was Johnny's vision to know that by putting our stamp on it, if you will, it wasn't to say, yay, Protective, but it was to say, now others hopefully will follow suit and join in and fund it and all come together collaboratively.
At Protective, its foundation, or in his philanthropic endeavors, what set it all apart, colleagues say, was Johns' ability to lead by example.
Johnny liked to do the things that not everybody wanted to do. He was willing to go out and take on a project that wasn't necessarily the most high-profile project. He would take on a project that we knew was going to be difficult because he really did understand his power to bring others to the cause. And so he used that very carefully to make a big, big difference. But he was willing, on multiple occasions, when things would be in trouble and others would begin to back away, Johnny would lead in.
His accomplishments from my perspective and my lens will always be what he touched to be so kind of forward-thinking and a visionary and made it fun.
Johnny was only the 6th CEO in the entire company's history. He served as CEO for approximately 15 years. When you have an icon like Johnny who can project what it is to have integrity, to do the right thing, that goes and flows through an entire organization as it moves. And everybody in the organization understood that, and it's part of the actions and the way we treat people.
Please join me in congratulating John D. Jones.
Whoa, word all true, you know? Now, listen, thank you all so much. It's such an honor to be here today in such esteemed company to receive this recognition from our Kiwanis Club. I'm very, very thankful and grateful. One thing I want to be clear about is I view this award not as a recognition of my career, but a celebration of the people and the values that shaped my career. I would like to begin by acknowledging and thanking Corbin and the other gentlemen honored with me today, each of whom played a big role in my life, in my professional life. Corbin, Don, and Charles were long-serving members of the Protective Board. I'm grateful for their help and guidance during their time as board members through thick and thin. And they will tell you there was a lot of thin in that story. They were all unfailingly good friends and wise counselors. In addition, I had the great privilege to serve on John Holcomb's board for many, many years. And John, thank you so much for that opportunity. I learned so much from you and your awesome team. From all of you, I learned so much and benefited so greatly from your wise counsel and resolute support. I'm also grateful to have my big sister here today, Carol Smith, and her husband, Gary, and her two sons, Brad and Randy, and Brad's wife, Helen. Thank you all so much for being here. It makes it very special for me, for you to be here to share in this. I must also acknowledge and thank, as Don did, my predecessors, Billy Rushton. Everyone who knew Billy knows that he was the personification of integrity and quality in every aspect of his life. And what can I say about Drayton Neighbors? Truly a paragon himself of integrity and the embodiment of courageous and creative leadership. Drayton and Billy set the foundation of values upon which Protective is built today under Rich's leadership. And I must also thank my assistant, Sally Lewis. Sally, thank you for your loyal support over the years and for keeping me organized and generally out of trouble. Not always, but generally. And most importantly, I thank Nancy, my patient and encouraging wife, who has walked with me down this road side by side. Thank you, Nancy, so much. And to Rich Beelan and the other people from Protective, the executives from Protective, that are here. The recognition is this recognition is as much yours as it is mine. Together we built a company known not just for financial performance, but as I hope came through in the video, but we also wanted to be known for how we treated our customers, how we supported our community, and how we created a workplace where people felt valued and appreciated. When I think back on my years as CEO of Protective, what I remember most vividly isn't just the strategic plans, the product launches, the acquisitions, the quarterly results. It is the moments, the bad times, when our team pulled together to solve a problem or get through a crisis. I remember too, with much fondness, our celebrations of shared success and our common bond. Our credo was to do the right thing, always. We were confident that if we lived by our values, the numbers would take care of themselves, and somehow they just did. At the end of the day, the best measure of a career, I believe, isn't the titles or the financial performance or the accolades. It is the people that you made the journey with. And today, looking around this room, I'm reminded of just how fortunate I have been on that journey. Thank you all very much.
What a class. Our final inductee is longtime Kiwanian and retired CEO of Alabama Power, Charles McCrary.
Charles McCrary, Alabama Power Company. Few individuals have had as large an impact on Birmingham's business community as Charles McCrary. During a career that saw him rise through the ranks at Southern Company over the course of 4 decades and ultimately become CEO of Alabama Power, McCrary's influence was felt not just at the utility, but throughout the local economy.
What I really think is important to understand is of the changes that Charles made, many of them have sustained themselves. And so helps me think that, and he wasn't making change just for the sake of change, but he was making change to make the business better, to help our employees be better, and to be able to hire better people.
He came in and really having a foot firmly planted in our history, understanding what the history of our company is, which is our DNA, which is so important. He also had a foot firmly planted in that future and what long-term looks like. And a leader that has a foot in both doors generally has the best view in terms of how to make sure we're taking the best of the past and bringing it forward.
McCrary started his career at Southern Company after earning a degree in mechanical engineering at Auburn University. Over the course of his career, he held a number of different roles, including Vice President for Southern Nuclear Operating Company and President of Southern Company Generation.
He knew enough to know what he would do differently if he were the boss.
He was named CEO of Alabama Power in 2001, a role he held until 2014. During his tenure, McCrary left an indelible mark on the power company. One of his biggest was a landmark, mutually beneficial partnership with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers that has served as a model for utilities around the nation.
We have a strong culture related to our employees, caring for them. We think of it as our work family, and he really leaned into that, not just with our own employees inside our company, but with how he felt about the IBEW and labor. I remember being at Plant Miller, and there was still this culture of us versus them, and at one point during that time period, as part of his leadership, he changed that dynamic. And he did that not just for our company, which was something that just was completely unexpected and welcomed, but unexpected. It was really something that resonated even outside of our company. That legacy still is going on today.
It was special because it didn't offer a lot of opportunities for blockage. You didn't have to argue over things. Charles and Bill Frederick were close enough that they could resolve issues on the front end. The power delivery and power generation guys realized that Charles was really serious about the way to do the work, and everybody just worked together easily, and it was great.
Colleagues said McCrary's leadership style, and often his overlooked sense of humor, served him well while guiding a large organization.
From a leadership style, I think he would tell you that people didn't work for him, he worked for the people. And I think regardless of, if you were custodian staff to, EVP, he treated people the same. And that's what he expected out of others.
One of the signs he had in his office that he would pop up on screens when we were in leadership meetings was a saying that stuck with all of us. And it was, no results plus excuses equals no results. It's a simple equation. And that really personifies the way he led, which was high accountability, high results, making sure we were delivering not just for our own employees, but our customers.
He can be direct and candid, which can be humbling, but sometimes the things you need to hear, but he cares about people and he doesn't take himself too seriously.
One indicator of McCrary's business acumen was how often he was called to serve, often in leadership roles, on critical boards. He's been a board member of Regions Financial Corporation, Mercedes-Benz U.S. International, Protective Life, and the Auburn University Board of Trustees, among several others. McCreary also wasn't afraid to be a vocal advocate for progress in Metro Birmingham.
He was a coalition builder, I think, in a lot of different aspects, particularly, he grew up in Birmingham in Alabama, and I think people had ideas of where they wanted to see Birmingham and the state go, but kind of wasn't really happening. So I think, he was direct in that some things needed to be done and changed in order to move forward.
Birmingham is the shadow of our headquarters, and Charles played a critical role along with a handful of leaders, some that are being honored along with Charles today, in terms of really making sure they were caretakers of their backyard.
Outside of the corporate world, McCreary also shaped a number of nonprofit and educational organizations, another way his legacy continues to be felt in the Magic City.
We see the impact of Charles's legacy every day, whether it's in our company, across the state, and in our community. So it's an honor to be a part of recognizing him today. It's a well-deserved recognition.
Please join me in recognizing Charles McCreary.
Well, thank you a lot. In the amount of time that I've been allotted, I'm not intelligent enough or efficient enough with my words that I could ever relay to you how appreciative I am of this induction. I am honored and I am humbled. As I look around the room, there are so many of you that over the years I have worked with. I've laughed with, I've fought with, I've strategized with, and I enjoyed every minute, and I'm very fortunate. And I bring you up because you here are the ones that should be honored. You're the ones that are working hard to make your businesses successful today. You're the ones that are working hard today to make the city great, to make the state great. You are an army, and an army making our communities great. To you, this honor goes. Over the years, I want to thank you for putting up with me, for surviving my sarcasm, for celebrating any of my successes, and most of all, forgiving me of my failures. I'm quite fortunate to have an army like this, and the city is quite fortunate to have an army like you in our lives. Thank you.
They say Birmingham was built by magic, but we know it wasn't magic. It was giants. Giants of industry, of commerce, of innovation. The Kiwanis Club of Birmingham honors those whose contributions to our city have inspired growth, development, and an ever-improving quality of life. Since 1997, the Birmingham Business Hall of Fame recognizes those individuals whose example serves as a catalyst to others, ever-inspiring generations of business, civic, and community leaders to never stop finding new ways to grow Birmingham. That's the magic. Leaders united in building by serving.
Please join me in one more round of applause for our honorees. What a phenomenal group of leaders, and again, we're honored to be able to recognize you today, and thank you all again for being here. Before we dismiss, I'd be remiss if I didn't once more thank our sponsors, Renaissance Bank, Regions Bank, Alabama Power Company, Protective Life Corporation, Vulcan Materials Company, Better Business Bureau of Central Alabama, Brassfield and Gorey, Bradley, the Feather and Gill Foundation, Ligon Industries, Maynard Nexen, Medical Properties Trust, Oakworth Capital Bank, Pinnacle Financial Partners, Recreational Concepts, Savant, South State Bank, Synovus, and the Welch Group. Your support has been instrumental in making today a success, so let's give them all one more round of applause. And finally, just a few Kiwanis thank yous. Once again to our event co-chairs, Anil Chadha and Lauren Roberts, great job. We appreciate all the time you've put into this event. Our steering committee, Charles Anderson, Patty Black, Meg Lovett, and Ty West, thank you all. Lots of other Kiwanians who assisted today. Past presidents, Dr. Tracy Moran Adams, Scott Adams, Richard Anthony, Robert Ayland, Nelson Bean, J.W. Carpenter, Donna Smith, and Larry Thornton. Our past secretary, Catherine Crosby, and a whole host of other Kiwanians. Brittany Bordenaro, Ben Jackson, let me turn to my page here. Sorry about that. Chuck Holmes, Bob Boylan, Clayton Bromberg, Lockraine Chase, let's see, Sarah Nall, Charlie Faulkner, Floyd Holloman, Perry Given, Kelly Morgan, John Harden. I probably left someone out, and I apologize, but a great group of Kiwanians. And then finally to our staff, Nora Gathings, Jennifer Dowdle, and Jada Wilbanks, who truly make the magic happen. So thank you all again. We ask our inductees and your families if you'll come forward after the event. We'd like to take some pictures. Ben Jackson will coordinate that. If you parked across the street in the deck, we'd love to validate your ticket, so see a member of the staff on your way out. Thanks again for joining us. Congrats again to our inductees. Have a great rest of your day and week. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.